Happy days. So, Reforest Matt, special guest here at the Elite Thinking Club tonight, guys. Welcome, Matt, Liz, Michael. How you doing, guys? All good?
Yeah, very good. How are
Great.
you lot?
Awesome, man. I feel good. I feel happy. Happy that we have another guest on the show. Um,
Yay.
yeah, no, it's all blessed. Matt, how you doing? You're good?
Yeah, good. Good. I'm
Happy
excited
days.
to be on it.
Yes, as are we. Now, just so you guys know, we've just reached 249 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So we just want to say thank you so much because without you guys, obviously the channel won't grow. So if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button so you can follow future episodes. And also, I'm going to be introducing Matt, and he's got at Reforest Matt YouTube, which you can find. It's linked to ours, and the link is in the description as well. So check him out too. But before we go any further, just so we are clear on what we do, you cannot change anything unless you're willing to understand it, and you cannot understand it unless you're willing to explore it. A good debate doesn't get ugly. We may talk of things that make people feel vulnerable. Beliefs held sacred may be challenged because of life experiences, but we're not trying to make people wrong or to incite riot, but simply explore. Welcome to the Elite Thinking Club. Now, why did I want Matt on the show? Because this man, right, is so passionate for the earth, for the planet, for the sustainability of the human race, and for the animals and everything about it. And I just love it because years ago, Matt was doing this, and I wasn't the same person before. I wasn't. I won't lie. And Matt was always talking about it. He says, "No, trees, they're conscious, brother. You got to hear me." And I'm like, I wasn't in the position to hear him, but now I've changed. I've kind of seen the world through the same lens as this man, but this man is such an advocate for it. But I don't want to tell your story. I don't want to tell your story, Matt. I would like you to, we're going to obviously have a conversation and to let the viewers see who the man is behind the camera. So right now you have a YouTube channel and you are, Matt, you go ahead. Go and tell us about your YouTube channel first. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, cool. So my YouTube channel was born out of sort of my desire, I guess, to further leverage my time to help encourage people to sort of live a more sustainable life and to plant more trees and to consider seriously reducing their meat intake or entirely going vegan for the planet and for the animals and for their health and for human existence in general. Yeah. So for me, setting up the YouTube channel was a no-brainer. With my business before, I was planting trees. With every single subscription or every single payment anybody made to me was turned straight into planting trees. And now the YouTube, I'm hoping, will take in the same direction. So I'm hoping as soon as we get to a point where I can monetize it and everything else, that a large proportion of that, at least 50%, is going to be going to reforestation projects and other environmental causes and projects and charities. And before then, out of pocket, I'm planting a tree for every new subscriber I'm getting to. So obviously that's exciting.
Yes. So if you're watching us and you're supporting us, we support Matt 100%. Follow him on YouTube, subscribe, because the man is all about trying to regrow the lungs of the planet. Well, Matt, you'll be happy to know that Liz and myself, but Liz is vegan. Liz has been vegan a lot longer than me, probably longer than you. Michael partakes as well, don't you, Michael? You love it. You do a month here and there.
I do I will now pick vegetarian options over meat options. I can't say I'd ever be meat free, but
not yet.
No. Well, yeah, but I'm more open to it. Like for lunch, I have vegetarian sushi. I always drinking soy.
Yeah,
and I used to drink milk all the time.
I used to be full on carnivore, Michael. Let's not play around. Like I remember the days when I would have meat hanging from my biltong machine in my kitchen. Can you believe that shit? I would have it just drip it, Liz, honestly. And I'll be thinking, how am I doing this? And then like, I was making bacon sandwiches the other day, like vegan bacon sandwiches. And I was thinking in my head, like, can I believe it? I used to actually cook the fleshy bacon, like the thingy. Now I know we got viewers and we're not here judging. We're not saying it. Hence the disclaimer, guys, come on. We're not here to tell, we're sanctimonious, all these people, but we are here to educate. And I know, Liz, you're a massive advocate for more than just the planet as well. You're about human rights and all of that. So I thought like you and Matt, the connection, I thought, yeah, they're going to definitely get on. But one thing is important.
And I love trees as well. So the fact that you are literally replanting and doing, you're kind of nourishing the planet, you know, from damage that gets done to it. Every day trees are taken down, and you know, all of the damage that's done from that. So you are kind of the other side, trying to do your bit by bit, to kind of make it better. And I salute you for that. I truly do. And I love trees. I'm a tree hugger, and I don't care about admitting it. So
I was going to say, absolutely. If you look back on my Instagram, I went for a sort of a small period where I was posting a lot more sort of actually me physically hugging trees. But do you know what? It feels nice. It feels good.
Trees.
I always feel like I'm actually getting something back to. Now, that might be in my head, because obviously there's a release of endorphins and everything else when you're actually engaged in that hug. But no matter what, it feels good. Hug the
Wait
tree.
a minute.
Everyone hug the tree.
I've never hugged a tree, but
You need to
I
go and
I
hug a
haven't.
I don't
tree.
get anything like that from it.
What,
When I go into a forest, like, I feel so good when I'm around trees. It is
Yeah.
they,
I'll walk
you know,
through the
I
forest.
go and give a tree a hug. I
Oh,
climb
man.
trees, I hug trees. Oh my God, yes. We are so connected to trees.
Well, I
think-
do. Okay. All right. Wait. Excuse me. I'm very aware of earthing. Like, you go barefoot walking. So
Yeah.
is that like the same principle, but you're
Kind of, yeah.
hugging the tree?
I was going to say, I think that the whole sort of concept behind barefoot and earthing in that sense, from what I understand, it all probably comes from a similar sort of background, in the sense that it's all to do with negative ions. You know, when you walking in the forests, you're being exposed to a lot more negative ions, which are the good ones, which I know it sounds crazy. But it's the same way when you're walking on the earth, the moisture. So you're getting similar sort of healing effects doing both things.
Yeah.
Wait. So, okay, let's rewind. Okay, Matt, talk, like, obviously the viewers, we see who you are now, which is an amazing thing, because you've come such a long way. But let's take it back. When did your journey start? When do you feel like your turning point from, because you wasn't born this, would you? You wasn't born, we're all born, but let's get it right.
Yeah.
When did you discover this passion to want to replant trees? When did you find, and then think of ways like that you say, okay, I'm going to set up a business so that it makes money so I can plant more trees? Like, when did this passion for this come about? Like, when was it for you?
So, I mean, I probably have to go quite far back to sort of where I sort of first remember a real connection with the earth and with nature. Now, where we grew up in Marsh Farm in Luton, we didn't grow up with much, you know, back then. And I would always find, if I ever found myself in a situation where I had a lot of anguish, what I recognize now as an adult, when I was a kid, when I was depressed or whatever, I would take myself out, and just across the road from where I was living, there was like a field of long grass, and there was like trees and hedges, and I'd take myself out there. And I remember I used just to lay down in the grass, just listening to the crickets, with the wind, you know, just rustling through the little blades of grass. And I remember just feeling like everything was okay.
Yeah.
And I guess that's probably one of the main points where it really truly started for me with my love for nature. And I guess it was as I grew older that turned into an understanding that we need to protect these places. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if my brothers are listening to this or anything else, but a few years back, before I actually moved across to Gloucestershire, this was probably about 8 years ago now, they were planning about doing like a fireworks display, and I was like, I got so annoyed and so upset, because to do so, they'd have had to cut down this tree that I used to love in the garden. One that I remember watching. This is in Luton, in the middle of town, and I remember one day this same tree had a woodpecker come fly over to it, and it was sitting on this tree for a good 20 minutes, you know, pecking around, which probably was a sign that the tree wasn't in the best shape anyway, because obviously it was doing its thing. But still, I had so much love for this tree, and for me, it was like a friend.
Yeah.
Like somebody who I grew up with at the back of that garden there, and I don't think they quite understood that. So again, there's an element of protection there even before this. But for me, it was probably the point where it all became very real. Around that time, actually, I was going out collecting acorns and then throwing them around, digging them in the ground a little bit, just with some hope that they'd grow into giant oaks or whatever.
Love that.
But more recently, it was probably about 5 years ago now, and I went into quite a deep depression. Anxiety was hitting me bad to the point where I couldn't even get out of the house. And I came to a realization in myself that it was because I wasn't living my true life, what I was supposed to be doing. Like, I wasn't being real to myself, which was where I actually got enjoyment, which is through doing good. And don't get me wrong, and I was going to say, growing up, I'd often set up businesses and just let them fold because I was trying to do it to like get rich or to make lots of money. But I hit a point where I went, do you know what? I need to do more. How can I do this? I've been building websites for years for myself with these little businesses that I'd picked up and let fold and whatever else. But I said to myself, do you know what? For every single website I build, I'm going to plant 5 trees to start with. It was like, if somebody gets the hosting with me, I'll plant 5 trees a month.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic, because that offsets the equivalent of 3 websites carbon footprints, just, you know, one website hosting or whatever with me. But I sort of took it a little step further as my business grew and I could afford to. I started planting 100 trees for every new person, and then 5 trees per month.
Yeah.
Like,
it's extraordinary.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Now, I swear to God, like,
why
sometimes
can't everybody be like you?
but this is the point, right? I feel like, Matt,
can't afford to.
You step planting 100 trees a day. You have stepped into your light so organically. I love it that you had to go through what you went through, because it's made you become who you are. And I'll be honest and say that, yes, I'm vegan. Yeah, I know that's my way of being, like my version of activism. Like, I know I'm trying to do my bit. And I'm not going to come on here and pretend that I'm perfect, because I'm not. And everyone's at different, everyone's at different stages and all of that stuff. Yeah. But one thing for certain is sometimes I sit back and think, I could be doing more. I should be doing more. But I am so grateful that there are people like you on the planet, because you are doing that little bit more. And I'm happy to support. You know what I mean? This is like, you know, if you own a website, guys, right, for the viewers and anybody that stumbles across this, if you are being hosted, check who's hosting it, because, you know, you could be doing your bit by checking in with Matt. You could just message Matt. I've put the link in the description. Message him and say, you know, what's it going to cost? Let me transfer my website over to you. You host my website now, and you pay Matt, and he will plant trees for the planet. Like, it's genius, bro. Like, I feel like Matt is honestly, it's genius, man. And I'm all for it. We're going to push that big time, man. And we're very grateful, bro. Very grateful. But
go on.
No, you go on.
I was just going to say, one of the things that people think a bit crazy is, obviously I'm spending all this money planting trees, but I've actually set all of the pricing sort of either in line with like the likes of GoDaddy and all these other crazy massive companies who don't care ultimately. But I've set sort of in line with them, or cheaper in some cases, because I realized that if we want to really make change in this world, we can't just say, oh, this is an eco product, so we're going to charge twice as much. We can't be doing that. Everything we need to do now has to be on par or cheaper, because not everyone's got all the extra money. You know, fair enough. Some of my market might be sort of the middle class and everything else, but sustainability shouldn't be for the middle classes. It should be for everybody. And that's what I'm trying to achieve as well with what I'm doing. So anybody who wants their hosting, even if they can't afford even what I charge, just drop me a message, because I might be able to help you out. Because what's more important to me is to look after you and to be able to plant these trees. So please do.
And I think people, a lot of people, where you say it's for everyone, I totally agree. But I think some people, their perspective on the whole eco concept can be that, oh, it's going to be more expensive because there's that you know, it's doing good element to it, whereas I agree with you 100%. I think if these things were more cost effective and they didn't give that perspective to people, I think we would be doing a lot more better as well. I mean, you're doing great. Like, I'm now inspired to go plant trees. I'm going to start. I'll probably get arrested for planting trees on the side of the road, like here, there and everywhere.
No, do it.
I'm going to.
I need to go and hug a tree. I feel like the only one that ain't hugging.
After this, you are going out and you're
I've got to go and hug a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, people need to know more as well.
See
Though.
you on CCTV on the news, like just randomly walking out, going across the road with a tree.
Who's this guy hugging this tree, and why has he got no clothes on? What the hell? That's not what he said on the podcast. Flipping clothes on this
We
man.
didn't mention nakedness. We didn't mention that.
All right, Michael, what was it you just said there? Sorry, as well. People need to know.
Yeah, people need to know. I don't know if you've seen this comment, someone, but wouldn't it be good if trees did something like emit Wi-Fi or something? It's like,
Oh my god!
well, they do something.
Don't they emit something? Let me think about it.
Or I'd rather Wi-Fi or what they emit.
What's the purpose of trees?
I was going to say, wouldn't it be really cool if they, gave us food, shelter, warmth, oxygen, things we need to survive?
There we go.
No, we need Wi-Fi from
Matt. Please talk us through that. It isn't just you. If you live it, you know it as well. Your passion for nature is it's remarkable how much you literally are connected. You said you lay in the field when it first dawned on you, but now I imagine it's so deep, like so deep. Like your vegan journey. I know you've been vegan longer than myself. How long have you been vegan for?
In January, I think it'd be 6 years.
6 years, and like how. If you could, for our audience, talk about some of the benefits of that, like what is it that not makes you do it, but when did you, what inspired you to take that choice, to make that choice?
I think that's a good question. I was probably similar to yourself, or possibly worse. Growing up, I was always the person that would have a plate full of meat, nothing else. There might be okay, that might be a lie. I'd have a massive plate of meat with maybe a couple of chips on the side. That was the sort of person I was. And I think it was probably from growing up with two elder brothers. It was always the want to be more manly, to be stronger, to be bigger, to be all these things. And obviously we've got this perception that eating meat's a manly thing to do, which is debatable really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But I also classed myself as an environmentalist. And I don't know if it happened at the same time or whatnot, but one day I just realized that I'm a bloody hypocrite. I'm talking about all these things. I'm talking about, being better for the planet, doing everything we can, recycling everything else. But hang about, the elephant in the room here, animal agriculture, and I've read this time and time again by this point, animal agriculture is like the biggest single emitter of greenhouse gases out there. Like, why am I doing this? I am a hypocrite, and I did not want to be a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I went vegetarian, and I was vegetarian for can't have been more than 6 months. We did veganuary because I thought, I'll give it a go. I was thinking to myself, I'm probably not going to keep this up by the end of it. It's unlikely. I don't know if I'm going to do it. Literally 3 weeks into veganuary, I was like, I'm doing enough here. Look, I'm not eating the meat, whatever. And literally a couple of days later, I was like, nah, I'm going to carry this on. I don't need it that much. I don't need this. Like, it's the small incremental things that we do that make a huge difference for the environment. So yes, the difference between vegetarian and vegan isn't as big of a leap from meat eater to vegetarian. There's still a distance there that needs to be taken into consideration. Now, if more people did that, then those who are further behind in the journey towards a more sustainable planet, it's at least buying us more time to take the extra step.
I love that. Yeah, similar. I went vegetarian, and I did exactly the same, veganuary, and I was like, right, man, I'm gonna do this, and it's the same. After achieving something like 3 weeks of it, I'm like, it's such a sense of achievement. I felt like, man, I'm doing this. Like, I'm gonna stick with it. And I'd lived like 30 years, and I'd never had a vegetarian Christmas. And I thought in my head, I've done this for 30 years. I mean, there's cultures out there who have completely different Christmas dinners. And I get the traditional thing, but we live in a day and age now where we should be exploring, really. We should really be exploring. You've got one life. Why not try an Indian Christmas? Why not try a Chinese Christmas? Why not try a different Christmas? And that's what dawned on me back then. I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. I'm going vegetarian Christmas, which was December. And then come January, they're like, yeah, veganuary. I was like, I'm going to do it. And I did it. Now, this is where it really tipped for me. You ever watch them documentaries and you get exposed to the mass effect of what it is we do, but we don't know we're doing? So do you get what I mean? You said about the greenhouse gases. I wasn't even aware. And it isn't because I was ignorant. Ignorant isn't when you don't know. When you don't know, you didn't know. Do you know what I mean? But it's when you do know and then still choose to, that's ignorant. Do you know what I mean? That's like, what the fuck? But you said you didn't want to be a hypocrite. I just didn't want to be ignorant. I was like, I can't be that guy, man. That's not me. Chris Julian, that's not me. Do you know what I mean? I can't do it. But there's like a triangle to it. There is the sustainability of the planet. And I love that that's your like number one thing. There is not only that, human health. So as I was a personal trainer, that is what it got for me. I was like, I've got to nail this. And then the third one is saving the animals, really, because they contribute massively to the whole eco balance. But if we're eating shitloads of them, we're kind of the balance isn't there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that there was one other aspect for me as well. I just started sort of discovering myself in a more spiritual manner as well, in the sense of, you know, wanting to sort of spread more love in the world. And, you know, I'm a man who believes in energy. And the way I saw it was, and I think there's some sort of older cultures around the world who believe this too, and that's that when you eat the animal, you're also taking on their suffering. And we're not talking about just all the heightened adrenaline that they had before they were murdered or whatever else like that. It's not about that. It's sort of more than that. You know, everything vibrates, everything's energy. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've literally fed something utter rubbish and it's gone through trauma and suffering for potentially its whole life, and you kill that, you think the energy is going to change? You think that vibration that lives within the animal is going to change? And then you think when you eat that, it's not going to cause you stress, heightened cortisol and all that sort of stuff. For me, like, I started having that realization, as well as obviously caring about the environment. And I've always classed myself as an animal lover. It's what I studied in college. I studied animal care and that sort of stuff because I wanted to care for animals. So you're right. It's so many different facets, two reasons.
That is so deep, but I get you. I totally get you. They say as well, like, you are what you eat, right? And it's really, it is baffling to some to think that deep. Some people can't. They don't have the capacity, and I get that. I'm not here to try and flip and tell people, are you dumb? You're not dumb if you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. But the cellular structure, you're right. You consume that of something like, let's say I put you into shock. Let's say I get, like, if I inflict you with fear, your body reacts to that. It gets very low vibration. It goes into a sense of shock. It's heightened. The pores are all, you know, crazy. You go into sweats. You know, your body reacts to that. And then, you know, to consume that, yeah, like, you are consuming that change of cellular structure. It's deep, man. It is so deep, isn't it? It's so deep.
I don't think people really even think that far or that way, because one, we're not taught to. We're just conditioned into, yeah, there's a sausage on your plate, or, you know, turkey for Christmas dinner. It is kind of from a very young age in there, and it's just not, it's not taught, it's not really talked about, unless, like yourself, you felt that, and you connect with the energy. So I just think it's important, I think, for people to really see a different side and to think about it in a different way, because I think that would help a lot of people to understand not only your journey, and sort of where your passion and where your strength for it comes from, but also to kind of enlighten them that everything is energy and that, you know, you are what you eat. So yeah, I think it's important. I really do.
You're deep, Matt. I love it. And I love how you're showing people a bit more of who's behind the camera. So let's talk about that. Like, your YouTube channel. Talk to, where did this come from? Because I love it, by the way. We're following you. You're part of our friendship group on the Elite Thinking Club podcast. Guys, if you're watching, you haven't subscribed to Matt's channel yet, subscribe to it, and follow him. So Matt, talk to us. What's the What is it? I mean, I'll let you talk. You
Yeah,
say.
yeah, of course, of course, of course. So, I mean, I'm an avid traveler in a way. I like experiencing different cultures and visiting new places. I feel like if you travel, you become more well-rounded. I think that also you sort of, when you grow up in one single place and you've got your media, you've got people you know who are all telling you, oh, people from a certain place are bad, or this place is dangerous, or all these other things that we're told. When you visit these countries, you realize it's so far from the truth. Like, and for me, I wanted to sort of showcase a little bit of that in my videos, but you know, for me mainly it was the whole idea that it's really hard to be vegan and travel to certain places. That's one of the key things that I want to show in my videos. It's not something I discuss in depth, but it's something I just show through the way I live in these videos. So,
And where are you currently now?
currently in Istanbul.
Istanbul.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm a little bit ahead of you guys. That's probably why I'm a little bit more tired. But
But that's awesome, man. So awesome. So yeah, guys, like I said, if you haven't following him already, you've got to go and check him out on the YouTube.
I need to
Just-
follow you, and I need to see all of this journey.
yeah, follow.
Yeah.
it's just getting started. I have to admit, we've done sort of a lot of Europe on this occasion, but we wanted to sort of get into sort of somewhere a little bit different, which is why we headed to Turkey on this, you know, before we head back for Christmas. And then in January, we're heading over to the States, and then we're heading down sort of through Central South America. So I think it's gonna get a lot more interesting when we go to sort of some of these places.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
they're a little bit different. You know, most of Europe is pretty much the same as being at home, to be honest. You know, apart from the language barrier and anything else, things are very similar. Apart from Istanbul, I have to admit, this place is very different, and in pretty much all the good ways. Like, people are so nice. Hospitality is crazy. And as an English person, obviously, I like my tea. So you go in somewhere. First night I got here, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I went to get a takeaway from a restaurant, and they were very, very careful with what, you know, when I asked about vegan stuff, they did it. But while I was waiting to bring the takeaway out so I could bring back to the hotel to Bethan, my wife, they just came and sat a tea down in front of me. I was just like,
Oh,
this is my vibe. You know, you give me tea all day long. This is my vibe. So yeah, no, I'm loving it. I really am. And there should be a few different videos coming out this week, which start from when we first sort of got to Istanbul.
Loving it. And I'm looking forward to seeing where you currently are to where you're going to be. Matt, I think you're going to do, I know you're doing extraordinary things right now, and it's only going to grow. It is going to get huge. You're going to be traveling. You're going to be at Reforest Matt. If you haven't done so already, find him. Instagram, Facebook, the YouTube. He's here doing his thing, and just follow the journey. Like, I'm really looking forward. I'm excited as well. You know what I mean? I'm
excited for you. I really am. I think it's an amazing thing to do. You know, you're exploring, you're traveling, and you're doing good. I mean, that is just the top of
It's great.
the mountain. It's everything, isn't it? It really is.
I really appreciate that as well, because for me, it's sort of the thing that keeps me going is knowing that I'm doing it for something other than myself.
Yeah.
And
There's
I'm
meaning to it, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And I've got something in me that what I've done to date is amazing, but it's only just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I think the more I connect with more people and the more money I can bring in through my businesses, the I can make so much more of a difference in the world. And I've got so many different plans in the pipeline that I will obviously talk about down the line as it goes. So follow me on socials will definitely help with that, including more projects for, again, you know, utilizing business to plant more trees, but also helping people travel in a more sustainable way. So I've got some things in the pipeline for that will become very clear at some point in the hopefully not too distant future.
Love that.
Brilliant.
Absolutely
That
love
sounds
it.
awesome.
Yeah, for real. So, Matt, quick question. Like, have you met any resistance on your travels? Now, I don't mean that as in, like, you know, how can I explain what I meant? So, quick one, like, obviously with the pandemic, are you vaccinated? Have you been vaccinated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't be able to travel otherwise, really.
Yes.
That's pretty much the prerequisite for visiting most countries nowadays. And it's either that, or some countries won't let you in at all, or you've got to do expensive PCR tests. And if you're doing that every week or every 2 weeks as you're visiting new countries, that's just, you know, I could barely afford to travel full time as it is, being honest, because it can be expensive. If I had to do that as well, it would just, I don't know if it'd be possible, to be honest.
This is always in the back of my mind now, and I tip my hat to you, Matt. I mean, you've made that personal sacrifice. And I say sacrifice, I don't, you know what, that sounded so, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is I choose not to. I don't want to. I don't want to have to do it. But for the greater good, it seems like you will do it. Do you know what I mean? To get the message out there, to keep pushing what you're doing. And I'm all for that. Like I said.
And plus, I did have COVID right back at the start, and I thought I was going to die. I was very, very close. Like literally, let's put it this way: I had my temperature taken in the morning, and I was like 0.1 away from having to phone an ambulance. And I am 99% sure that in the middle of the night, when I thought I was going to die, I had a higher temperature. So,
damn.
I mean, I think if I had anything pre-existing beyond sort of very small things, I'd have been screwed, to be honest. So for me, I kind of getting vaccinated, even if you can still catch it and it just reduces sort of the symptoms or whatever. For me, that's important too, because I'd say now it wasn't nice.
Your experience,
yeah, precisely. And I know everyone's different, and that's fair enough. I think that in this world we live in at the moment, choice should be a thing.
Absolutely.
But for me personally, it was the choice that I wanted to make, and
that's exactly what it should be, Matt. It should be the choice you want to make for your body and, you know, for your medical circumstances. It's your choice, and good for you.
Yeah, man, for real. That's mad. You're the first person, man, that I know that's had to. Okay, cool. Yeah, man, just threw it out there. Okay, Matt, if you had to say anything to next generations, because I believe, right, some generations aren't ready to hear or even have the capacity to get what you're about fully. So let's look at the next generations, the ones that will probably find you later on down the line when your YouTube's booming, when you are all over the place doing multiple interviews saying this is the guy that's, you know, smashing it. So like planting all these trees. What would you say to them when they're faced with the resistance, the people and the resistance that you've been faced with in the past? Like, how have you overcome that?
I would say, don't be disheartened. Continue doing the small things. If you're in a situation and you still haven't left home yet or whatever, you're still living with parents, especially if we're talking about that generation, then it's about making the choice you can where you can. If you can't go fully vegan yet because your parents won't cook you anything different, if you know, have to do a little bit of recycling yourself because your family haven't got separate bins, so you have to physically go outside and put your things in the bin, or encourage a family to make these changes. That's, you know, the small things collectively will make one of the biggest differences. I think that then if you are in a position, obviously, to go fully vegan or to plant more trees or to get involved in sort of local litter cleans, all of these different things, just do it. You know, I think that we need to get over maybe being slightly ostracized for being different and for being passionate about these things, because ultimately what one person thinks of you doesn't matter. The future of our planet does matter. Having a 100%. Planet that, you know, and it's not just, you know, I think that we're coming into a good era now though, where a lot of these kids won't get as ostracized for not eating meat, because they can still go to Burger King, they can still go to McDonald's. Yes. They can go and have a burger, you know, so they don't have to change much. They just literally just need to change that one single thing when they're ordering.
Yes.
And also if like you do stuff in life that you're passionate about and that is good for the world, for humanity, for the planet, if one person says something that's negative about it and you stopped, you'd never do anything. No. You'd never do anything. You would stop it. You know, there's going to be hurdles, and there's going to be people that object. There's going to be negativity that comes your way in anything you do. You know, you could be the saintest saint on this planet, and there will be somebody that will be negative about the things you do, what you know, the message you're trying to bring. So I just think that if you feel it in your soul and that is what you want to do, and you should do it. We should all do it. And I think more people would actually do what you've done, and you know, go out there and get out in the world and enrich their own soul and the world, if they had the guts and the kind of, you know, not the worry about how our world is and the society. We'd do more good. 100%.
I think maybe the one message that I would like to say is, don't do what I did, or what most of us do, and wait until they're in their late 20s or into their 30s before they actually really start to make these changes.
Do it when you feel it.
Do it as early as possible, you know. And as I say, even if it starts with the really small things, it's how we all start. I think there's very few of us who overnight go, right, I'm just being the best person I could be. Nobody's the best they can be overnight. And we'll be striving for perfection in ourselves until the day we die. So just keep on making these small little changes, because they do make a big difference, and we build them into habits, and then that's just how we live from there on out anyway.
Yeah, man. This guy, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Reforest. The Reforest is just incredible. Follow him at Reforest Matt. Find him on Instagram, YouTube. Follow him on YouTube. Follow his journey. He's now in Istanbul and he's just moving around. And guys, this guy, and if you own a website, find out who's hosting your website. And if you've got to make the jump, make the switch. If you're not out there planting trees, right, this man is, and you can help support that. So, Matt, I just want to say, like, I feel like, you know, we don't have to long anything out. You've covered everything that if you wanted to talk about. If you have anything else you want to talk about, is anything else you want to talk about? Anything right now?
Just say a subject, mate, and I've probably got something to say about it.
I love that. And I love, you know what, then we'll invite you back. No doubt. Let's give it, like, I don't know, a few months, and then we'll get you back on the show and just see how things have grown and developed. Liz, Michael, is there anything else you want to, if there anything you wanted to ask Matt before we say?
No, I've just enjoyed listening to it. It's been quite nice, actually.
I love that.
Been nice not having to argue with something.
That's good. I was actually going to say one. Oh God.
Oh, sorry. Carry on.
No, I was just going to say one last thing from obviously a perspective that we haven't touched on, because, you know, I'm talking about the environment, I'm talking about veganism, I'm talking about all these things, but one of the things that obviously we're not talking about is the fact, and I'm bringing this on myself, scrutiny here, is the fact that I'm traveling, which means I'm getting long distance coaches, I'm getting trains, and from time to time I'm having to fly. Now, obviously, I'm talking the talk, but that almost looks like I'm not walking the walk. Now,
like Greta Thunberg.
Well, to be honest with you, to some degree, that's true. But in this whole fight against climate change and everything else, we need to be looking for solutions that allow us to make changes where we can, but also live our lives with as little impact as possible. Because if you don't sort of come up with solutions for these issues, people are just going to stop and ignore it entirely, because people don't want to change that significantly. Now, diet change is the easy one, in my opinion, because all it is now is just changing a beef burger for a Beyond Burger and you're sorted, you know. But
I found that quite difficult.
Fair enough. But for me, not so much. But yeah, but then I was going to say about flying. Nowadays, wherever you fly, and it's not the perfect solution, but there's normally a tick box to offset your flight. A lot of people will say that offsetting isn't the solution, but in my opinion, whilst we still have fossil fuel powered planes, it is definitely an option that we should be taking seriously, because it is better than not. I also do something else now. I also plant trees. A big surprise there. So I'll look at the flight, or I'll look at the coach journey. I'll look at how much carbon my seat, first of all, has created from doing that journey. Second, I'll look at the whole flight or the whole coach. For instance, when we just got a coach last week, we got it from Burgas in Bulgaria to Istanbul in Turkey. I worked out how much my seat was and how much the whole coach was. In the end, I offset the whole coach, because what I worked out was something like 0.4 3 tons. No, that doesn't sound quite right, but whatever it was, it ended up being that we plant 15 trees to offset that in real time. Now, offsetting through planting of trees, you have to be careful with that one too, because sometimes you look at these carbon offsets with tree planting and it talks about over the whole life cycle of a tree. So on average, a tree will sequester 1 ton of carbon over a 40-year period. Now, we don't have that long in our fight against climate change to be making significant changes or to offset what we're doing now. So what I always do is I times whatever it is by 40. So anything that I do and have an impact in the world is offset within 1 year. It's not an exact science, but you know, it's much better than just sort of assuming that that tree is going to live forever, or there isn't going to be a forest fire that's going to wipe it all out. And you can select the best projects in the world where they really care, really focus on the right trees to plant and everything else. But I think we need to be sort of focusing on doing these in real time, not over a long period of time, you know.
That's well said and well presented. You know what? Something like that I'd never even considered, man. And I'm glad that, you know,
Never
I'm
even
not
thought about it like that. So
you
thank
know what I
you.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure there's many people watching now who are probably not shocked because you know what? It's almost like we know what we don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's just you've brought it to the forefront of our minds. So it's
Yeah.
kind of always been there, you know, in the background, but you've kind of planted that seed and no pun intended there. And it's grown, you know. So my question was going to be, what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to get to that you will feel you have fulfilled your energy and being on this planet, that you've done what you were here to do?
If I'm entirely honest with you, I don't think there'll ever be a point where I feel like I've entirely achieved everything that I want to
I was
achieve.
hoping that was going to be your answer. Thank you.
I
don't want you to stop.
No, there just isn't, because ultimately, if you reach a certain point and you've been successful with something, especially environmentally, it'd be crazy to stop that momentum.
Just
absolutely. continue. And for me, it is realizing that, you know, for much of the world, money is power, and
yes,
you can vote with your money. And for me, it's utilizing money in my businesses to power that change. And I'm going to continue doing that. And I'm going to be bringing out different branches to my business, different trading names and everything else that will eventually cover a wider sort of spectrum of business, just because I know that I could do 10 times the amount, well, more than 10 times the amount, hundreds of times the amount over a period of time. So
what a legend.
Yeah, I'll never stop. I'll never stop.
Good. That's the answer I was hoping for. That's the answer I was hoping for. So thank you.
Yeah, Matt, honestly, I'm rooting for you. I'm supporting you, man. It's going to be, yes, brother. I love that.
Yeah, appreciate you.
I love
appreciate all of you.
And I will try and get a few businesses to come your way, because you know, I know quite a few that with the hosting. So yeah, definitely.
It's all for the good cause. Yeah, Matt, I just want to say thank you for joining us on our podcast. Like, we really do. I knew these guys would love it. I knew it. I just knew it. I want to get you exposed. Yeah. You need to get out there more. We need to get you out there more and more.
Appreciate that, and invite me back anytime if you've got any sort of subjects that you want another outside opinion on. If I don't talk too much.
Definitely.
Okay.
We'll have to catch up with you and see where you are, you know, in your journey the next time that you come on. That would be brilliant, and to get an update on what's going on. So connect on Instagram and stuff as well. Cool. Yeah,
exactly.
Brilliant.
So guys, if you haven't done so already,
say what's your Instagram?
Yes, I was going to say
at Instagram. Sorry, Instagram is at Reforest Matt. Facebook, you can find me under Reforest Matt. YouTube, you can find me under Reforest Matt. Basically, I'm just going to just using the same handle.
All right, guys, he's Reforest Matt. Yeah, find him, and the link's in the description anyway. I'm going to put all of your links into the description on the YouTube video. Matt, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today to talk about yourself, talk about what you're up to and what you're doing for the planet, mate. It means a lot. Michael, Liz, thank you again for joining us. We'll be on the next episode.
Thank you.
And yeah,
take
Matt,
care on your travels and your journey, and
thank you for being with us today, mate. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
You, man. All right, guys, everyone everywhere.
Cheers.
Peace and love.